In this video, we will demonstrate an option for connecting Microsoft Copilot with Qlik's MCP server. This option utilizes a pro-code approach using Microsoft's Agent Builder Toolkit. While this is a pro-code approach, we hope that this video alleviates concerns over the technical complexity of implementation. As you'll see, the Agent Toolkit makes implementation a breeze for those with little to no coding experience. Before we start, you'll need to make sure that you have several prerequisites to create this type of integration. You'll need a Microsoft 365 Copilot license and permission to upload custom apps to Copilot. You'll need Visual Studio Code or another IDE with the Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit installed. And finally, you'll need Qlik admin access to your desired Qlik tenant. We'll start in Visual Studio Code. If you have not installed the Microsoft Agents Toolkit, please navigate to the Extensions pane to search for and download the toolkit. After it's installed, navigate to the Agents Toolkit pane. We'll click to create a new agent. We'll select Declarative Agent. We'll add a new action and select Start with the MCP server. We'll add in our MCP server endpoint, which is our tenant URL /API/AI/MCP. From there, we'll be prompted to choose where we would like to store our code. Go ahead and select the folder location that you would like to use to store your code. Lastly, we'll enter in a name for our agent. After we hit enter, the Agents Toolkit will generate all the necessary code for us, and a new VS Code window will pop up. In order to connect our Copilot agent to Qlik's MCP server, we need to create a new OAuth client in our Qlik tenant. So within our Qlik tenant, we will navigate to the Administration Activity Center and go to the OAuth section. Next, we will create a web OAuth client because we need both a client ID and secret for our Copilot agent. The client needs both the user default and MCP execute scopes. Several redirect URLs are needed to ensure we can connect locally using VS Code and when the agent is deployed to Copilot. As a quick refresher on OAuth, this OAuth configuration will enable users to authenticate against our Qlik tenant and our agent to access resources and functionality that a given user has access to. So in other words, it will ensure that users of our Copilot agent will have the same access to features and resources via Copilot as they do within the Qlik UI. After you've created your OAuth client, you'll want to make sure to copy the client ID and secret for use in the next steps. Next, we'll go back to VS Code and configure our MCP connection. After we set up our connection, we will then fetch the MCP tools to add to our agent. The great thing about the Agents Toolkit is that all of this is point and click. So first, we'll click Start within our MCP JSON file, which will launch our interactive authorization flow. The toolkit will let us know that the Qlik MCP server does not support dynamic client registration, so we'll be prompted to use a client ID and secret. We'll enter in our client ID and client secret from our Qlik OAuth client we just configured. From there, VS Code will ask for permission to launch our browser to finish the authorization flow. When we're redirected to our browser, we'll be presented with the standard Qlik authorization screen for MCP. We'll go ahead and click Approve, and we should be redirected back to VS Code. Now you'll notice that our MCP server connection is showing as running. Next, we'll click Fetch Action from MCP, which launches the MCP tool selection flow. We'll select the AI plugin JSON file that will ultimately hold the definitions for the tools that we select. From there, we'll be presented with a list of all the tools available in the Qlik MCP server. You can choose individual tools or select to include all. In this example, we will limit our agent to just read-only tools. When building declarative agents to connect to Qlik's MCP server, we suggest limiting the scope of your agent and MCP tools due to token limits for Copilot declarative agents. Then finally, we'll identify that we're using OAuth with static registration. And once we click Enter, our AI plugin JSON file will be updated with metadata related to the tools that we identified in the tool identification flow. At this point, our agent is essentially ready to ship. But before we do that, let's take a look at some of the additional configuration that we can do to help improve the performance of this agent. So if we take a look over here to the left at all the files available within the app package, one of the files is the instruction text file. So this file can be used to provide your agent with system instructions or system prompts. So in this case, I have a system prompt that I put together that I'll copy and paste into the file. But in summary, really what this does is it gives the agent in this case an understanding of its role, its scope, and how it should behave in terms of the types of questions that it might be asked. In addition to the instructions text, the manifest JSON file includes metadata that will be visible to end users within Copilot. Things like the developer name and information, icons, agent name, and description. Then within the declarative agent JSON file, you can define conversation starters made available to end users. Here, I'll add a simple question starter around the health of our business. Now that we've configured our agent, we'll go ahead and provision the agent. First, we'll navigate to the Toolkit pane. You'll need to ensure that you're logged into your Microsoft 365 account. From there, you can go to the Lifecycle section and click on Provision. The provision process will use our OAuth details like client ID, secret, and scopes to create an OAuth registration in the Teams developer portal. The provisioning process will generate an app ID within Azure, update our code, and ultimately generate a zip file of our code and dependencies that is automatically uploaded to our Microsoft tenant. After successfully provisioning the agent should be available to you within Copilot. Please keep in mind that provisioning the agent only makes it available to you as the developer, but not to others. We will review the publishing process at the end of the video, where we'll share our agent with other users. For now, let's test our agent in Copilot before publishing. Let's test using our conversation starter. Since this is the first time we're using the agent within Copilot, we will be asked to allow the agent to connect, and then we will be prompted to sign into our Qlik tenant. From there, Copilot should analyze our question, build a plan, execute tool calls against the Qlik MCP, and ultimately form a response. Now that we've configured, provisioned, and tested our agent within Copilot, I'll go through some of the next steps in order to share the agent with other users. So within VS Code, if we go to the Agents Toolkit in the Activity Center here, underneath Lifecycle, in addition to provision, we also have deploy, and we also have publish to organization. If we need to make changes as part of our testing process, we can use the deploy button to deploy those changes and test them ourselves as the developer. But then once we have a version of the agent that we'd like to share with other users, we can use the publish to organization button to then push the agent through an approval process to ultimately share it out with other users. So when you click publish to organization, that will trigger a request to your Office 365 admin. Your admin would then need to share that agent with other users or groups within your organization. So let's take a look at the steps that your administrator will need to take to publish and share your agent within your organization. Within the Teams Admin Center, you'll need to find your agent. Once you've navigated to your agent, you'll have the option to publish. By default, the agent will be shared with all users, but alternatively, you can update the users and groups to only share your agent with a subset of users or groups. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it helps you to create a successful integration between Copilot and Qlik's MCP server. In addition to this video, please reference the Connecting Microsoft 365 Copilot to Qlik's MCP server with the Agents Toolkit community article for more helpful information.